Yes, good morning. You know, every time I come to the bumper breakfast in the morning and I get to see the Christmas tree right behind me, it gives me this Christmassy, exciting feeling of, oh my, Christmas is coming. Good morning, people. Good to be here with you again this beautiful, beautiful Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I mean, the week has been so long, and then finally Friday came. And you know, it's quite unique because in this season, MITV is celebrating weddings. It's a feast of weddings. I mean, last week was Amina's wedding, and it was beautifully done in Ibadan. We had so much fun. And then this weekend, our dearest Quincy Glow will be definitely getting married. Part has been done, finished up, it will be finished again tomorrow. So, of course, we are excited, super, super excited because we have much more to look forward to in December. And then next week is going to be all about Chemist Day. So, we're going to be having fun. So, like I said, it's our season. And coincidentally, Yinka Kemi's elder brother is also getting married tomorrow. So, you see, it's a feast of weddings in MITV. We're doubling up in MITV. So, definitely, there is extra, extra excitement in the air. My name is Tomisin, and I'm glad to be with you, bringing all the excitement to you this morning. And, of course, on a typical Friday, the only man on the Bumper Breakfast Show gets to join us. I'm talking about Dr. Precious Watts. Good morning.
Good morning, Tomisin.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm very well.
And good morning to our wonderful viewers this morning.
Good morning, Dr. Precious. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Okay. Could I ask you why you're still wearing a cap?
You know, it's good to represent home. There's no place like home, and you know.
But when you represent home, you do it with native. You're not wearing native.
No. This is part of our style, you know.
Oh, that's part of his style in the South South.
Yeah,
Okay, that's why my former president was always wearing a cap.
exactly.
But you know he doesn't wear a cap in English.
You know, let me tell you something. There are some pictures that speaks 1,000 words. And that's what I'm trying to represent this morning. So I'm just trying to take people back to memory lane. Do you know that $1 is now 500 naira?
No, it went down. Fortunately for me, I had to go do dollar exchange, and it was 460.
Where's your dollar? You've changed it.
Just about 4 days ago, 3 days ago.
Let's discuss that off camera.
But really, you know, it was that news that, oh, it's 500, and then all of.
No, when you get there and it's
then I got
460,
to
you return.
I went to 2, 3, 4, 5 places, and one said 450, the other said 452, 455, and then sometime in the evening, Alan said 461, 462.
You have waited.
For what? You don't need money. So what I just did, I did myself a favor, as in sharply. You know that kind of language. I did myself a favor. But then I did the calculation. I looked at it and I thought, okay, that's just about 3,500 naira difference. That's money for breakfast for Tomisin and Dr. Precious, but you know, still on the level. You get
Still something you can live with.
Something I can live with. So of course. So yeah, they say it's 500 pound foolish.
No, pounds intelligent.
Pounds. Dollar intelligence. So basically, what people are saying is 500 naira. Sorry, you may go on the streets and you find it way less than 500.
Black market.
Even if you go to the bank, it won't cost. It's not that cost. But you know, when you're buying, that's when you really get it.
Yes, that's true.
When you're buying, but when you're selling, oh my.
True.
Anyway, just this morning, the front page of the Guardian newspaper talks about something that has been bugging me for a while. So when I saw it this morning, I'm like, okay, we're going to have to talk about this. Public internet service. That public internet service wanes despite 33 trillion naira investment. Lagos free Wi-Fi project struggles. Operators to concentrate more services in urban cities. Cost of smartphones, laptops pose barrier to affordability and access. How many people like me have been suffering from some form of network failure? Do you want to make a 5-minute call and you have to call the person like 3 times?
Very true.
It's so annoying.
I've experienced it.
You're
Very
calling and then you see something like call failed.
or you're on a call and it just drops.
So, for example, this morning I was preparing the news and I was in the bathroom, one hand on the phone, preparing the news, the other brushing. And I picked up my phone, and while I checked, I had network. So I went to the bedroom to dress up. Network disappeared. Till I left my house 30 minutes later, there was no network on my phone. The only thing I could do, I couldn't use the internet. The only thing I could do was to try to make phone calls. You try to call one person like 7 times, and it keeps telling you the number does not exist, the number is not available, and then the person calls you just one time. Say, I just tried it once. So I'm like, okay, you have network where you are, but apparently there are areas of my house that doesn't have network.
The one I've noticed in recent times is while you're talking, it just shows call failed.
Really, that one happens a lot.
I wonder what failed about the call.
It's the call. It failed. So apparently the network, you know the way they say the network is like breeze. If you serve in the south, say for example a place like Bayelsa, one of my sisters served in Bayelsa. So whenever she wants to call, she tells us that she can only call us. We can call her because all the time there's no network. So they have to go like to the top part of a particular building. That's where there's network. So everybody takes their phone there, and they all spend some time there so they can make some phone calls.
That's crazy.
And then there are some places where they have to climb trees. Really, you get right. And then it's so funny because the only time they can get to leave the place anyway is when they want to go get their alawi in town. So they contribute all the ATM cards, give it to one person. The person goes to the town, withdraws money for everybody, and then the person brings it back.
That must be a village in Bayelsa.
When you're not in Yenagua and maybe one or two other places, you're in the riverine areas, so it may not be a village per se, but they're surrounded by water, so they have that issue. And internet, power is a problem, internet is a problem, basically. But if you're experiencing this in Lagos, I cannot imagine what people in the core villages are experiencing. And then they're now saying they want to concentrate more services in urban centers, which means they're on their own.
And most times when I hear things like this, I just wonder what our national association that regulates these network providers are doing. Because let's be clear, in Israel, they're trying to invent an internet service that works with the wind.
Like
so wherever you are, you can access.
Which is exactly what it should be like.
But right here, we're still dealing with network errors. That's very bad.
The NCC needs to actually step up and do something about this, because I really can't imagine going back to the days of the early 90s where we only had the ground.
We'll never return that.
I know, we won't return that, but we need to get the hardware, sorted here. Police ask courts to stop SARS probe, group kicks, IGP orders, investigation of suit. We can decide on hiring mercenaries for insurgency fight, says the DHQ. Police extradite Mena from Niger Republic. CBN's new forex remittance policy begins today. 2 killed as gunmen abduct 26 on Edo Highway.
Okay, on the Nigerian Tribune this morning, how money transfer operators sabotage the Naira in Nigeria. Now, police ask courts to stop judicial panel of inquiry. IGP directs investigation into suits and queries force legal officers. I think I'm not really happy with the police asking the court to stop judicial panels of inquiry.
Well, there's an addendum to that story, because if you go to the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, the IGP has disowned that suit. As a matter of fact, the IGP is probing that particular department.
Yes, it says IG queries force legal officer for
In
suing
fact,
NSAS panels.
And even is suing that man, is actually probing that man, is querying the man who heads, not just the units now, and even the man who heads that unit.
Good.
Because nothing like that should actually go out of the police force without the IGP being privy to
Very
it.
true.
So when the federal government says set up panels in your different states and investigate this and take messages from people, let people have the freedom to be able to express themselves. And then you come back and you say something like,
asking the court, and then you're speaking on behalf of the police when you're not the police spokesman. That's preposterous.
and then it's even so bad that the IGP is now on the other side because apparently he's not aware.
Yeah, it means they were doing things out of their own volition, and that's
The man may just have felt that he was doing his job.
I see that as a Cactovenian City, which is obviously in Carolus.
Okay, so you're talking like your brother.
My uncle, right?
Your uncle.
Okay, moving on there. Lagos pays 60 million naira compensation to families of slain police officer.
Fantastic idea. 10 million naira each given to slain police officers and the families of the slain police officers. 6 of them, 10 million naira each.
Okay. APC leaders approach courts to stop NEC meeting scheduled for December 8th. And then up there, 2 killed as gunmen kidnapped 10 in Edo State.
Okay, so that number says 10 there, but the Guardian newspaper actually makes it 26. Of course, disparaging figures, but we sincerely do hope that we get the true number.
And that's all on the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, I have on the Nation newspaper this morning. Now, the sad part of this first thing that comes to me on the front page of the Nation newspaper is a picture of the widows and the children of the slain police officers who died during the riots that followed the hashtag against protests here in Lagos on the front page of the Nation. You have the families, the sad faces of the people, and that staring in the face right now is a sad occurrence. IGP disowns suit to stop probe of officers. You have the police have launched a probe of a suit to stop the proceedings at the state judicial panels on brutality. They were set up to investigate allegations of brutality by officers of the defunct anti-robbery squad, that's the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, and others. But the IGP who gave the order of the use of trending reports in the media today expressed the disapproval of the force management team on the matter and ordered investigations into the alleged role of the force legal section, including its head. The first legal officer has been queried and may face further sanctions if found guilty of dereliction of duty.
Beautiful.
Government to elders, Buhari won't quit over Borno killings. APC to blame for a heightened terrorism, says PDP. The HQ urges Nigerians not to fear. I really find it difficult to understand when two political parties start over this drama.
Okay, on the
We still
punch
have,
news-
no, I'm actually not done.
Okay.
I just remember that we still have over 100 Chibokers yet to be rescued, and they were taken during the tenure of PDP.
That reminds me, a friend of mine communicated with me yesterday. A doctor, he said he was kidnapped in Kaduna from his house. They took all his money, they took some of his properties, and then they told one of the bandits to take him into the toilet and Yamutu. Yamutu means, I think, wasting or something. So the guy took him into the toilet and told him to keep quiet and locked him inside through the key. We fired some empty shots and left him there, and that was how he survived. The insecurity in the north
You know,
skyrocketing.
it's actually very important to begin to take this thing seriously, because for Saad Abubakar III, the Sultan of Sokoto, to have come out to say the most dangerous place to live right now is the north, you know, tells me that if we don't address this, if we don't pay extra attention to this, we may be sitting on a keg of gunpowder.
Very true. And that's
Let
why
me shock
the
you.
Holy Book says, fear not.
Overnight in my house, we were robbed. Today, overnight in my house. Today. Right here in Lagos, I'm not in the north. Right here in Lagos. Overnight today. Phones were taken, bags were taken. Imagine finding your bag outside. Early in the morning. Your handbag outside the house.
It was taken from the window. Wow.
Nets were opened. it was just funny. Woke up this morning, money missing, phones missing, and and I'm like, how did this happen? This is supposedly supposed to be an estate.
It has happened to me when I was in Lokoja some few years ago. The way it's done is very strange. You know, the first time they actually visited my house like 4 times, but they never succeeded once. The first time it happened, I was sleeping, and all of a sudden, I just opened my eyes and I saw a pole from my window. Now they tore the net, they put the pole in to the room, and then they were pulling the phones from the table so that they can push it down from the table into a cloth they already have on the floor. So what they usually do is when they come, they remove their trouser, then they tie both legs together. I'm telling you this because I caught one of them. So they tie both legs together. That's the legs of the trouser. Then they put a stick on the waist and they push it in. So they pull the phone and everything on that cloth. Then they use the stick to pull it towards the window, and then they take and escape. That's what they do. So the first time they came, the stick was actually passing through my head to the table, and the guy was doing it carefully. I don't know how the Holy Spirit woke me up, and I saw it. If you see the way I screamed and ran after the guy, the barbed wire on the fence caught him because I ran out. I was really ready to get him because I felt something just told me you could handle him, and I was secure. So don't go after robbers without securing yourself. You get what I'm talking about? The second time they came, I was sleeping. This was happening in the parlor. I had my iPad and 2 Apple phones in the living room, and these guys were doing the same thing. I don't know what woke me up. I just walked into the parlor and saw the stick again, another stick this time, and they were already pulling. Like, if this is the window, the phones were already here, just a bit close. And then I shouted and they left. The third time I experienced that, I came back from a trip and I saw they had broken the ceiling, but they couldn't enter because the blocks continued. So it was a failed attempt. So I became conscious. You don't put your phones close to the window. You don't put your valuables close to the window.
That's why my phone is still here, actually. My phone is usually not beside me. For some reason, I just don't like charging my phone at night.
Very many people charge their phones over.
So I put the phone beside the bed on the floor, right beside the bed. And then, I woke up this morning and I'm like, how do you carry a handbag out of a wardrobe? And then the handbag is outside the house. Do you get it? By the blocks in the compound.
Tomisin, there are some of them who are very vile. They can actually go through the protector. They are that slim. They can go through the protector. But there are others who they have minded the act of taking things with a stick or with your clothes, and then they escape with it. So that's why we need to be very vigilant.
No, sincerely, we need.
When we caught that guy, he was given the beating of his life before he was taken to the military barracks, not the police station. I ensured he was taken to the military barracks, because the truth of the matter is, if you don't handle one and get the truth out of it, you may never understand how you can wake up and your property is gone. My landlord's generator in Lokoja was moved. As big as the generator is, we had barbed wire on the fence, and we're just 2 in the compound, myself and my landlord. Him on the other side, I in front. They went away with his generator, as big as it is. It was moved.
So apparently, it's about time that we look into this issue of security, because, it's quite shocking right now that a lot of people, we said it, when you have a state of anarchy, you attack the police. You see that usually we have patrols, in my area. Since the #EndSARS protest, after the violence, we stopped having patrols. Usually they're always patrolling from, say, 9:30 to 10. You would find like 2-3. That's why it's easy for me to finish news at night and drive home, because I now meet 2-3 police officers on the way. vans, just patrolling the area. So it keeps everybody alert, to know. And then sometime in the night you just hear the siren of the police just moving around, so you know that something is happening, whether they're repelling or something. But in this case, the police have not been patrolling my area at least, and then I'm practically dumbfounded. As in, I woke up this morning dumbfounded. I was just, I was checking doors. I was checking. How? Was the question. How?
But your nets were ripped apart.
Right, nets were ripped.
So you can tell.
Nets were ripped. So when you're picking things that were inside, outside, so you're like, how now? And then we had to come up with, my neighbor that said, oh, they use stick, they use this, they use that. So I get your story because my neighbor also said the same thing.
I caught this one, like I saw them.
Anyway, it's time for us to find a way of settling this matter between us and the police, and let them get to work. And I think we need to be much more vigilant. All right, one more story I'd like to take from the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning. Tinubu Akonde meets with Oyetola and Aregbesola. Lagos APC raises alarm over plots to disrupt by-election. Those are stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper today.
Okay, on the Punch, Nigerians risk global travel ban. See what I was talking about the other time?
The COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah, COVID-19.
But the NMA president did say that that's not a matter of concern.
At times we wonder how these stories get out there, and then it's debunked later. And
no, but this is the Senate. If the Senate says and the enemy, it's quite interesting that it's the enemy that's even saying no, because that's the president of the Nigerian Medical Association.
True.
So if he's saying no, there's really no reason to, it looks more like the Senate are just, for lack of, let me take responsibility for what I'm about to say. Nigerians may get a global travel ban if we don't get vaccine. Is that
I
true?
get the point.
You get the point.
I get the point. I get the message.
You get the message.
But let's leave it at that. The IG queries force legal officer for suing NSAS panel. Tinubu Oyetola Aregbesola holds 3 hours closed door meeting. Rising insecurity, Buhari may appear before reps December 10th. That's interesting. Sanwo-Olu pays 60 million to slain police officer's family. 2 feared killed, palace burnt in Ondo communal crash. Finally, gunmen raid Edo highway, kidnap passengers and kills vigilante. That's a sad one there. And that's all on the Punch newspaper this morning.
But I'm quite glad that the governor actually did this by himself. This was not saying that to pay. I'm glad he did this by himself, met the families, and puts a human face to exactly what we're doing. Puts a human face to it and helps everybody to be able to relate with his concern about these people. Because usually when police officers die, there's the rumor of how they're treated. In fact, there's the proof. Most times, the stories about the families treated in the barracks. Usually they're abandoned and all this. So
and after a while, they're kicked out.
They're kicked out. In fact, after a while, in a very short while.
In a short while.
They're kicked out. So I'm glad that the governor went out to do this and then did it by himself, met the families, had conversations with them. And we must say kudos to our dear Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu for the great job you've been doing. Let's take a quick break now. When we return this time, Kenya Jaga will be giving us the business report for today.
Everything we do in life has to do with what we intend to become. There are challenges and there are challenges. Join me every Thursday 9 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. on My Success Story, where we share the life experience of distinguished and notable personalities who went through thick and thin before achieving their success. For participation, sponsorship, and advert placement, please contact the number shown on the screen. My Success Story, where entrepreneurs are celebrated.
The weekend is so special, especially Saturdays.
While some are preparing to go for Owambes,
Gelemida, Filatieda.
some just want to sit back and relax.
Pass me the remote, Jory. That's why we have the Saturday Morning Show. Saturday Morning Show.
A program that talks about health,
Lifestyle,
good music,
education.
and topical issues.
It also features top celebrities in the country.
Tune in every Saturday,
7 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Saturday Morning Show, starting your weekend on a lighter mood.
Welcome back. It's still the bumper breakfast show this morning, and of course, before we go on, Kenny Ajega will be giving us the business report for this morning. And of course, when Kenny gives us that report, I'm sure that we'll have some good news, because there was a story in the Nation newspaper this morning talking about the CBN eyes about 2 billion monthly diaspora remittances and recipients to start collecting currency of choice from today. Good morning, Kenny. How are you today?
I'm fine. Good morning, Tomisin. How are you today?
Very well, very well.
Great. Well, the market, at least yesterday, was down.
Okay.
But that notwithstanding, the Institute of Capital Market Registrars have said that they are happy with what is going on, and it shows that the market is a place where investors can be when they compare our market with other developed and developing markets in terms of return on investment despite the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, a non-governmental organization, which has said that government needs to prioritize its capital projects in order for Nigerians to believe in the federal government in terms of whatever projects they are engaging in. And of course, from their own research, they discovered that there are duplication of projects which had earlier been budgeted for in one way or the other in the past budget, and is still being budgeted for in the current budget. This, they say, is not good at all, and it will not help any economy to grow. And except the government prioritize its capital projects, which will deliver value. This can only happen in an economy where it's meant for just consumption as against production. Having said that, we'll look at the figures and come back to the statement that was released by Budget, a non-governmental organization, in respect to the performance of the budget and expectations. For instance, the market yesterday recorded 289.39 million shares traded, valued at 7.35.
Hello? I think unfortunately we lost Kenny's voice there, and hopefully we'll get to. All right, Kenny, you're back here with us.
Yes.
Yes, please.
So we top trades in the market yesterday with that of United Bank for Africa PLC, Zenith Bank PLC, MTN PLC, and Access Bank PLC. For United Bank for Africa PLC, investors exchanged 34.45 million shares valued at 283.44 million naira, exchanging 261 deals at a market closing price of 8 naira 20 kobo per share. Zenith Bank recording 31.2 million shares traded, worth 743.57 million naira, done in 508 deals at the market closing price of 23 naira 55 kobo per share. MTN with 27.41 million shares traded worth 4.37 billion naira, done in 131 deals at a market closing price of 156 naira 20 kobo per share. Transaction in MTN notwithstanding, the market still went down in terms of in respect to the volume and value that was traded. And so Access Bank shows 22.96 million shares valued at 196 million naira, done in 316 deals at a market closing price of 8 naira 6 kobo per share. Beginners yesterday stood at 13 as against 25 losers. Beginners was led by Hardover PLC with price gain. MTN PLC with a price gain of 1 naira 20 kobo to close at 156 naira 20 kobo. Hardover PLC was up by 1 naira to close at 14 naira. Red Star Express gained 13 kobo to close at 3 naira 38 kobo. And Kutis PLC was up by 10 kobo to close at 1 naira 90 kobo. From the losers table, we have Cadbury Nigerian PLC, Flour Mills Nigerian PLC, GT Bank PLC, all recording 50 kobo drop respectively. And for Cadbury, it closed at 8 naira 70 kobo, Flour Mills 26 naira 50 kobo, and GT Bank 3 naira 60 kobo. While UBA lost 45 kobo to close at 8 naira 20 kobo. Meanwhile, the market capitalization of listed equities on the floors of the Nigerian Stock Exchange yesterday were closed at 18.27 trillion naira as against the previous day's closing figure of 18.32 trillion naira, a depreciation of 45.93 billion naira, while the index equally went down from 35,000 and 56,000.82 basis points to 34,900 and 8,000.94 basis points, a depreciation or a loss of 87.88 basis points. Coming down to the statement issued by Budget, a non-governmental organization yesterday, signed by one of its associates, Yano Fatoba, stated that the Nigerian government needs to prioritize its capital project that would deliver value to the Nigerian populace. According to the statement, the government had offered hope that capital projects in 2021 federal government budget will be accompanied by precise GPS coordinates to encourage project monitoring. Not only was this not provided in the budget proposal, many capital projects also had no specific locations in the country. To recall that in June 2020, its analysis of Open Factory portal revealed that over 50 billion naira of public funds were paid into personal accounts, allocating projects without defined location is a loophole for this form of corruption to continue in the fiscal year 2021. It went further that on issues with capital projects in proposed budget, Gabriel Okeowo, Budget's principal lead, noted that the federal government cannot afford to keep pumping the country's limited resources into new projects while abandoned capital projects suffer inadequate investment. Quoting them, said, "We analyzed over 13,000 capital projects in 2021 budget and observed that 55.51% of this total allocation for capital expenditures are earmarked for new projects, many of which may end up uncompleted by 2021. This is contrary to the hope Mr. President offered in his budget speech that ongoing projects will be prioritized in 2021 budget." Unquote. This is to remind us that with this development, Nigerian government need to come out plain, like many people have said, that trust is very key and important, and this can only make a nation to be upward and not downward. in another development that they noted, that in some areas that they noted, they said 13,343 capital projects that were analyzed were forcefully categorized as capital projects, even though in reality they are not. For instance, meeting allowances, anniversaries, and celebrations were miscategorized as capital projects. Some cases in point include 3.3 billion naira for posting and return entitlement of ambassadors and officers in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 74.5 million naira allocated for anniversary and celebration. The Nigerian in Diaspora Commission, 40 million naira for peculiar allowances in Nigerian Christian Pilgrim Commission, which are all categorized as capital projects. You wonder if all these can be looked and seen as capital projects. And so they expect that the government will address these issues in order for other countries to believe in us and investors, for investors to believe in Nigeria. In another development, the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, under the leadership of Alhaji Umaru Ibrahim, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, has been given an award to say that this parastatal had been very upcoming and have been of useful instrument in the development of the economy. The award was given to Alhaji Umaru by Alumni Association of National Institute in honor of the outgoing Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the NDIC, whose tenure, according to a statement, said that Umaru was praised by colleagues, friends, and well-wishers for his leadership quality and his great achievement, which include overseeing the corporation's critical failure resolution intervention in the banking sector that saved thousands of depositors from the loss of their funds, to navigating the corporation growth to take its prestigious position in international scene as chair of the African Regional Committee of the International Association of Deposit Insurance. Dr. Isan Jutse said during Umaru's tenure, the corporation was outstanding in the implementation of its mandate towards contributing to the stability of the financial system. He recalled that during his tenure, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, the NDIC remained the most compliant in terms of corporate governance and excellence in service delivery, as opposed to other agencies that were constantly grappling with numerous internal disputes and challenges. That was statement made again before Alhaji Umaru. And of course, you recall also that during his tenure, the financial inclusion of the federal government has been very inclusive and positive. And of course, it is during his tenure that the Finance Correspondent Association and Business Editors and other corporate organizations have been able to be part of a workshop training program that was instituted in order for Nigerians to get to know what the NDIC, that is the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, is doing in order to ensure that there is no terminal failure by any financial institution in the country.
All right.
Lastly, the Nigerian Deposit, that is the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the Nigerian Stock Exchange has replaced, has migrated some companies from ISEM to from the ISEM board to the growth board. According to a statement signed by the Nigerian Stock Exchange, it says that General's PLC, Living Trust Mortgage PLC, Mike Nichols PLC, and the Industry PLC all have, and alternative securities market, they have migrated from the alternative securities market to the growth board, and this was in accordance with their performance and information that have been available to them. That's the much we'll take. Hopefully, we'll be looking at the Institute of Capital Market Performance, which they said that the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the capital market as a whole has performed tremendously under this COVID-19. And that notwithstanding, they encourage investors to continue to look into Nigerian market space for quick return on their investment as opposed to other developed and developing countries. You recall that recently I said that we have more of local investors in the market as against foreign investors, which has never been the case, but despite that, the market.
All right, that's the report from Kenny Adiaga this morning. Many thanks, Kenny, for bringing us that report. Let's take a quick musical break. When we return, we're talking about 7 things you must know about yourself. We'll be back.
At our nation, tearing apart. The sounds of war everywhere. The youngest are crying, no protections. Just molestation leads to possession. But only you, God, can help our land. Help us, Jesus. Help us. Calling you, calling you, calling you. The nation is calling you. We are calling you, calling you. They promised us security, yeah. Yet we dey sleep with our 2 eyes open. And the Lord say our hospital they well. Yet when they sick, then go to Europe. Eating our local rice, no be bad thing. But she our leaders, then they follow us chopping. Frustrations everywhere, hunger everywhere, no work, nothing at all. We are calling you, nation is calling you. Arise, O Nigeria. Let the labor of our heroes past must be in vain. Arise,
Welcome back to the Bamba Breakfast Show and 7 things you must know about yourself. Quite a number of people do not pay attention to who they are, their person. You just wake up every morning, run through life, and tens of years just pass you by. Every decade you discover new things, but you don't pay so much attention. And so it's important for us to actually bring it to you and have you draw your attention to those critical areas that you must know about yourself, things you must pay maximum attention to about yourself. And of course, I get to this point and I just say, Dr. Precious.
You know, when I thought about this topic, the first thing that came to my mind is in most developed countries, talking about the United States of America, Israel, the United Kingdom, what they do is that when a child is growing up, they study these things I'm about to talk about in that child, and then they are able to pinpoint what the child will become. My kids went through something like that. So at some point, you study them. There are a couple of children I've also done that with. The United Nations Gifted and Talented Association, which I'm privileged to be an ambassador for. So they look into these children, they study their innate characteristics, their behavioral pattern, and then they decide what field will they feature in most and what would they become. But in this part of the world, what we do is the profession we love so much, we tell our children, this is what you will become. We impose on them.
We tell them,
become a doctor.
I desire.
You will become a lawyer. And if they say I desire, it's different. Some will tell them, you're going to become a pilot. And the boy is scared of heights. And you're still telling him to become a pilot. It doesn't work that way.
No. You make him he becomes a civil engineer.
So 7 things you need to know about yourself. And Tomisin, do you know that we are always interested in knowing so many things about so many people? And we really do not understand so much about ourselves.
We don't pay attention to ourselves.
And that for me, that's like a diminishing return. Because taking time to talk about other people and not investing time to identify yourself is a bankruptcy of wisdom. Let me say it this way. Knowing about yourself is actually the beginning of wisdom. There's a level you get. You don't need to be a doctor to understand your health. There's a level you get, you know what works.
You know what works for you.
Let me give you a simple example. I, for one, I know there are some, if I have flu, for example, I know some drugs that works for flu that will not work for me. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. I don't want to call names now, but I know some drugs. They are actually for flu, but it won't work with my system.
They will just never work.
But immediately I take the one that resonates with my body, I recover immediately. And that helps you understand that there are things you must know. You see, self-awareness is an essential part of life. The more you know about yourself, the more your tendency to becoming successful. So these 7 things are as follows. Number 1, what are your strengths? You need to understand your strength.
Do you mean things like I can lift a 50 kg?
No, it's not all about physical strength. Okay. It's not all about physical strength. Knowing what you excel in. You know, there are things you love to do even without getting paid for it.
It just makes you
things
happy to do them.
You do it without supervision. With little or no supervision. You do it excitedly.
And you don't struggle to do it.
You don't struggle to. That's where efficiency and effectiveness comes in. Your strength. This is so very important. Number 2, what are your weaknesses? And I want to say something very important here. You may pretend to everyone that you don't have a weakness, but don't lie to yourself. The beginning of failure is having a deceptive intuition about yourself.
You know, you can actually be deceived about everybody else.
But
when
you
it comes to you,
about yourself.
When it comes to you, you don't deceive yourself.
True.
When you live in deception, you're likely to arrive at nowhere. You know,
very true.
it's just like a boat put in the water
without direction,
and then being tossed around by the wind. The wind blows it this way, it just goes there. The wind blows it this way. Directionless, totally directionless.
And you see, success in life doesn't always come by being just aware of your strength. You must know the opposite, which
The
is
weakness.
your weakness. Do you know there are people who cannot achieve what God has actually marked them to achieve because of these weaknesses? And if you don't identify it on time, it may actually deter you. So that's why it's important we look inward. What is that thing that when it comes, I can't just get myself together? For some people, it's money. For some, it's women. Some is alcohol. When anything enters their hand, they drink to stupor.
They just can't stand not drinking. They can't stand not doing the extra. And it's a vice. Most times they tell you, what's your vice? Somebody said to me one day, I think it was an interview of some sort. The person looked at me and said, what's your vice? And I looked at the person and I smiled. And he said, everybody has a vice, must have a vice. And I said, yeah, I know what my vices are. And so when I started making mention of this, I said, okay, I just wanted to know. You're one of those people who live in denial.
But let me tell you something, Tomisin. You see, these things I'm talking about, that's why I said 7 things you need to know about yourself. It's also wisdom for you to understand that manipulative people will always want to know your weakness so they can use it against you.
Very true.
So you need to be very intellectual and intentional about the information about yourself that you dispense to people.
That you actually give out to people.
Yes, because you
For
see...
example, you want to go looking for a job and you love to sleep. And then they ask you, what are your weaknesses?
And you say you love to sleep, you won't get that job.
And you say, sleeping.
That's why...
Or they ask you, what are your hobby? What's your hobby? What are the things that you really love to do? And you say, I love to sleep. I love to watch
movies
TV.
on YouTube.
I love to watch movies. I love to... So how much time do you spend really on social media? Oh, I'm always on social media. Every time of the day. I'm also, you've lost the job even before you even applied.
Very true.
You've lost the job.
That's why, if you remember, I told you some time ago, my professor used to say, maturity is the ability not to lie and not to tell the whole truth. You get to a level, you just understand how to draw the line.
You just draw the line.
You tell yourself.
You know the people that you keep some information from and the people that you tell.
That's why selective conversation is always important. And I tell people, it's very good when you're asked a question, whether directly or indirectly, think about it.
Before you answer.
You know, Apostle Paul said, when I was a child, I speak as a child, I understood as a child, then I talked as a child. And that's the characteristics of being a child.
Very true.
You speak before you understand, and then you start thinking.
And then
said, but when I became
that's why they ask
adult,
a lot of questions.
Yeah, I threw away childish things. So you get to a point when you become an adult, what you're supposed to do is you think, and then before you speak. You don't speak and then try to understand what you have said.
What you have just said.
Number 3, what drives you or what excites you? I'm talking about your motivation. That thing that makes you want to get up in the morning. My excitement about being here is working with you. So I want to wake up in the morning regardless of how early it is. Painstakingly, get in the shower, get in the car, drive out, beat the traffic, because we want to impact somebody. We want to bless somebody's lives. And you see, this is very important. You need to understand what motivates you. When it's not there, Monday morning becomes a very difficult time.
You're even wishing, Monday morning you wake up and you're like, oh my, can it just be Sunday again? Or can I go back to Saturday? And I guess that's one of the reasons why a lot of people say, Monday is not my day.
True.
They were asking my
son. The
son.
motivation has gone down.
Yes, they were asking my son to do something about himself. Myself was learning to write composition.
Okay.
So write my mom, my dad, my school. So it was myself. And when I read through what my 5-year-old wrote, he wrote the half thing, they give them questions to answer to like the article. So he said, what is your favorite day of the week? My son said, Monday. Because I love to go to school. So his teachers were surprised when, we got to school, and then I picked him up, like 2 days later from school. And they were like, Madam, Mommy will not bring you to school. I told him, I said, you lost your face shield. I won't take you to school. I won't bring you to school. He started crying. And they were like, This one is crying because he wants to come to school.
Some are crying because they don't want to go to school.
What kind of... His own teacher now said, oh, if you read his composition, he
You will
said
understand.
his best time is Monday and he loves to come to school. So, you know, it's so funny when you inculcate such a thing in a child from when they're little, they get used to it. So when I see an adult telling me that Mondays are not just my days, Monday is the day I like to sleep at home,
There is no motivation.
it's motivation. That's the day everybody, whether you like it or not, it's the first working day of the week. So
Sure.
everybody gets to put their lives in perspective on Monday, you know, set targets for the week of Monday. And then you now tell me it's not your day, something is fundamentally wrong with you.
That's true. And you see, applying the things that makes you happy to your life per time is what will motivate you. So find out that thing that makes you happy in the midst of your assignment and just keep doing it to motivate yourself. This is so important. Number 4, your stressors and healers. So many people are not aware there's something called stressors. Your stressors are the things that brings stress, the things that gives you stress. Knowing the activities that stress you and trying to abstain from them is wisdom. There are some people they can't, like myself. One of my biggest stressor is traffic. That's why I have a DVD in my car. So when I drive, no matter the traffic, I could see a movie. I detest traffic. So I tell myself the best way to beat traffic and to be unstressed or not to be stressed is to get out early. So if I'm going anywhere, I want to get out very
Really early.
so I can beat that traffic. You really need to know your
stresses
stressors
you
and
what?
your healers. Now the healer talks about stress response. You see what you respond
with. So
with
for
when
you,
you're stressed.
traffic is a problem, so you solve it,
You
you
leave
move
early.
it.
And then
Or you leave early.
peradventure you're bored or you're stressed already or you're down. The antidote is Brother Shaggy for me. So I go on Instagram, I
And you
check
go
on Brother
watch-
Shaggy,
And then you laugh
and then
and
I
laugh
laugh
and
my
laugh,
heart out,
and then
and I'm
the
back.
stress goes. I
You,
get
you,
you.
you see what I'm talking about? So it's
get you.
important you know yourself. You understand? Because
But
this
in
is
cases where your stressor is a person,
then you
do.
need to intentionally, if the person is your partner, then you need to understand the tactic to handle that relationship. Because let me tell you this, Tomisin, in the energy of being stressed, positive thinking cannot be achieved.
very true.
When you're stressed, your productivity reduces, your mental faculty production reduces,
Actually, you don't even believe.
and then at that point you tend to react more. That's why they talk about when you're looking for a job, they talk about, can you work under pressure? They're looking at this. Are you able to work under pressure? For me, I remember the last organization I was actively involved with. When everyone is stressed and it's their evening time, that's when I get my energy. When I see everyone is down, so my boss then used to call me machine. So when I see everyone is down, I get energy from the fact that everyone is getting down. Shocking, right? But that's how it works. You need to, if you must accomplish something in life, you need to be willing to go the extra mile, and that will make you